Thank you for getting here on time, even though I know that this is an inconvenience. Being on a Thursday evening at 5 o'clock, I know that's not convenient for most people, but we were running against a number of other odds as far as trying to get the facilities and et cetera. So we went ahead and booked the place and decided to go ahead with the event this evening, and we're glad that you're here so far. I would like to first introduce the chair of the San Bernardino County Democratic Party, and he's going to extend the welcome to all of you. And he is Chris Robles. So.
Good late afternoon or early evening. And thank you so much for coming to this event. These kinds of events are important because you actually, if you haven't had a chance to meet and hear the candidates, there's nothing like this. And it's really too bad that more and more people don't come out to these candidate forums. Now, this one is unique in that every candidate here is an endorsed candidate by the Democratic Party. And that is truly important. With this open primary, not every candidate is going through the open primary, but some are. And with this open primary campaign in June, there's a lot of topsy-turvy. And it's important, the party endorsement becomes more important. People thought it would be less important. It becomes more important because people need to know which candidate is representative of the Democratic Party, and every candidate here has earned the Democratic Party's endorsement either at the county level or at the state level. If you have any questions about who's an endorsed candidate, if there's any confusion with your neighbors or friends, refer them to 3 websites. Actually, you could send them to just 2. If you live in San Bernardino County, and how many do? Okay. Oh, good. My people. It's San Bernardino Democrats with an S.org. If you live in Los Angeles, how many live in Los Angeles? Okay. Good. We outnumber LA here today. I used to be in LA, but now I'm San Bernardino all the way. LA is LACDP.org. Okay. So once again, San Bernardino Democrats with an S.org and LACDP.org. Those 2 websites have all the endorsed candidates, and I believe they do have I know ours has the endorsed candidates from the top to the bottom of the ballot, from governor all the way down, as I like to say, dog catcher, although we don't have that here. But this is an important race. The June primary is in some ways more important than November, because the people who win in June go on to November, and usually the Democrats in the Democratic seats will be the democratically elected candidate. This is important, and it's sad that the turnout is lower in June. But I know you're turning out because you're turning out to this event. So you should congratulate yourselves and give yourselves a round of applause for doing it. So I'm going to leave you with one question. How many of you have already voted? Okay, and that includes me and most of the candidates. Good for you. Now, how many of you have a large email list? Friends and families up and down the state. Everybody's hand should go up. So are you sending out an email blast to your friends and family? Especially this weekend. Most voters who haven't already voted are making the decisions between Saturday and Sunday. So it's very important that you tell them about the people here. Go to those websites, put the links in your email, or grab the names and paste them in there. It is super important. I can't tell you how many family members will call me and say, who do I vote for judge? I'm walking in the door, texting me, right? People are doing that. If you do it early, then you don't have to suffer through that while you're at work. And with that, I leave you to the fantastic candidates that we have. And remember to vote, 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 and get your neighbors out and your friends and family. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks Thanks, Chris. And I'm going to shift for just a little bit on the program so that all of our candidates will have an opportunity to be presented to you a little bit later on the program. But Chris mentioned something that was very, very important, and that is that you tell friends, neighbors, family members, because you're going to be much more informed than they are when you leave today as far as marking their ballots. Unfortunately, Democrats stay at home too often during the primaries, and that's a very, very important time. That's when we need to turn out to the polls to vote. And this is one of the reasons for having a forum today. Usually the forums that I sponsor are for the general elections, but this is a primary, it's important, and they're predicting that we will have a low voter turnout. So we want to do something to increase that voter turnout, and only you can help in doing that. Now, we're going to equip you before you leave with that information, so you won't have to memorize a thing today. You're welcome to take notes if you did not get a card and a pencil. Raise your hand, and Mr. Gallagher will kindly come by and give a little note card to you and a pencil. You can just jot down notes as people are presenting themselves or giving a campaign speech. The second thing, we're going to supply you with a list of candidates for the entire state, Democratic endorsed candidates for the entire state before you leave. We're going to give you a list of candidates and endorsed candidates for San Bernardino County and a list of candidates for Los Angeles County. So when you go into the polls or when you cast your ballot at home and you mail it in, try to mail it in as quickly as possible, you will be informed on what candidates you should be electing, okay? If we had turned out the way we should have turned out for the previous primary, our beloved president would not be having some of the problems he's having today, because he would have the help that he so much needs today to carry out some of that legislation. So we're going to equip you with that information on your way out. Be sure that you pick up a copy of the list of endorsed candidates. At this time, I want to tell you what our GOTV team consists of, people who are here. So I want to introduce them to you, and when I call your name, please come forth and just line up here to my right so that people can see who has put in an effort, not only for this get out the vote, but they do some things for the party consistently all the time. So it's not just a one-time activity for them. They're consistently politically active. Okay, the sponsors for this organization, and please come forth as I call your name. Sam Crow, Esquire, attorney at law. He is the trustee for the Ontario Montclair School District. He's a member of the Helen Doherty Democratic Club and also West End Democratic Club. Judy Jacobs. He sits on the executive board for the state of California Democratic Party and also is the chair of the Democratic Party's Children's Caucus. She's also the president of the Helen Doherty Democratic Club and vice president of the West End Democratic Club, and also a member of the San Bernardino County Democratic Party. Carolyn Rockford sits on the executive board for the state of California. She's the president of the West End Democratic Club, San Bernardino County Democratic Party, longtime Democratic activist. Tracy Taylor is the president of the Bonita Democratic Council of Laverne. She works also closely with the Young Democrats at the college there, the University of Laverne. And she's a political activist, especially in the field of education. Marion Argarello is the president of the Chino Valley Democratic Club. Also, in absentia, we have Rudy Mann. He could not be here today. He's the president and founder of the Inland Community Democratic Headquarters PAC, and the sponsor, he's one of the sponsors of the, he is the sponsor of the 2012 Democratic Headquarters that was located here on Gary and Foothill in the city of Pomona. And that was the Democratic headquarters for the entire region. We have committee members who joined us also in putting on this event and planning this event. Deborah Hurd, she's in the back. Would you like to come forth? I think she just wants to wave. She's a board member for the Inland Valley Democratic Headquarters PAC, and she's an elected member, has been for many years for the Los Angeles County Democratic Party, and a longtime Democratic activist. And please tell her thank you for the refreshments. Chris Robles had to leave early, but as I said before, he's the chairperson of the San Bernardino County Democratic Party, and he's a former member of our Los Angeles County Democratic Party also. Bob Garecki, who is a board member of the Inland Valley Community Democratic Headquarters PAC. I suppose he doesn't want to walk here either. He's an elected member of the Los Angeles County Democratic Party from the 41st Assembly District. True activist. Ramirez, I think I saw you come in the back. Is that right? Where are you? There you are. Okay. He is, okay, I'm sorry, Jimenez. Okay, Arturo Jimenez, please excuse me. He's president of the Pomona Valley Democratic Club and also a member of the Los Angeles County Democratic Party. Would you like to come forward so we can see who you are? Randy Carter. You want to come forth? She's a member of and is a political activist in the Chino Valley Democratic Club. Has been a very, very positive experience working with her during this time. Jim Gallagher, Vice President of the Chino Valley Democratic Club. Yolanda Robledo. Yes. She didn't think I was going to call her, but that's okay. Member of the Helen Doherty Democratic Club and the West End Democratic Club, and she has been a longtime Democratic political activist also. Lou Alfonso. Where are you? Okay, in the back. He's a member and a political activist in the Chino Valley Democratic Club. Be hearing more from Lou in the future because he's planning to run for city council in Chino. So you will be hearing from him later on, I'm sure. David Elston.
Elston.
Okay. He's a member and also an activist in the Chino Valley Democratic Club, and I guess he's another one who doesn't want to walk down here. Indy Farrow, where are you? There you are. And Myron Hester, they are both Pomona community activists. Myron is going to be your timekeeper today. Fred Mosby. He's a member of the Bonita Democratic Council. Whenever I call him, Fred, he's always available. That's great. Okay. All right. Let's give him a round of applause. the audience to please stand and let's give a flag salute to the gentleman. Flag is to my left. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Since many of us lost a very, very dear friend and a legendary person in the Democratic Party, at most events, I always dedicate the event to this person, and that is, of course, the late, I call it the late, great Helen Doherty. The program, as you know, you do not have a printed program, so in the Democratic Party we somewhat are conscious of sustainability and being green and saving and et cetera. That's one reason. Another reason is we try to cut back on costs because of the building costs and et cetera. But these are the procedures that we will follow today. Each one of the candidates will be given 4 minutes each. They will do their own campaign speech, presentation, and whatever else they think might appeal to you. Myron Hester will give us the first notification of 4 minutes. The first notification will be 1 minute left. That will be the one, pink, okay. The pink card will be 1 minute left, and then the green card means stop, your 4 minutes is up, even though that should have been, I guess, a red, right? That is red. And I will not intervene unless it's necessary, so we will just have one candidate flow. The program will just flow from one candidate to the other. After the panel is finished, then we will have the recognition of any party officials, any elected officials, any other non-endorsed candidates who are Democratic candidates. And we will have some of the candidates, I know we have one other judicial candidate who's here, who's a Democrat, and we want you to know who they are and to get to know them also during the social meet and greet period during the program. There's another candidate that's coming from Los Angeles. She hasn't arrived yet, and we will be introducing her also somewhere during the program. So far, I might have to make a few alterations in the program simply because some of our candidates have not arrived yet. So I'm going to ask Common Cause person, Mr. John Smith, to come forward and give you some information about Proposition 41 and 42 on the ballot before we get to the candidates. The candidates should be sort of relaxed from traveling on the freeway now, and then they will be ready to go after he finishes his presentation. I give you John Smith.
Little disclaimer there, I wear 2 hats, and one of them is a Democratic Party hat, and the other I do work for a nonpartisan group called Common Cause. So I'm not here for Common Cause at this moment. I'm wearing that other hat, the Democratic Party hat. I'm on the executive board of the state party, and I'm not going to be up here for a long time because this is a pretty cut and dry. The Democratic Party has fully endorsed Prop 41 and Prop 42. And both propositions have been supported, endorsed by multiple organizations, and there's not a lot of controversy about either one. Prop 41 essentially is redirecting money that was previously approved for veteran home housing. And the problem was They set aside $900 million to supply mortgages and that kind of thing, but the money became dormant because the interest rates, because of the recession, went to zero. And so the money wasn't required. What they want to do, though, is keep the program active. And so what this proposition will do is to activate $600 million that will be used in condos and apartments for low-income, qualified veterans, homeless veterans, who will be able to use these funds for condos and apartment rentals. And they will pay rent, the same as everyone else, but it'll be within guidelines, and they will help pay back the $600 million. This is fully supported by news media up and down the state, and of course the biggest one for us is the Democratic Party. Any questions on 41? Yes?
I'm sorry, I don't understand. You said that the money became dormant?
Well, it
because
wasn't
there
used.
was no interest on the money, is that correct?
No. The money that was previously set aside became unnecessary because in the mortgage markets, there was zero interest for the banks from the Fed. And so they didn't need to use bond money to support these mortgages. And so the money came from elsewhere. So the $900 million that was previously authorized didn't have to be used. And so it just sat there. And at any rate, the bonds weren't sold. So at any rate, what this does is to reactivate the program with a $600 million buy, and then that'll allow, as mortgages intended to be, they'll be creeping up over time, and the homeless veterans will be able to get condos and apartments for rent. So that's what that's for. The other one is a bit more controversial. That's Prop 42, and that deals with the Brown Act, which we have here in California. And the Brown Act says that all public meetings have to be fully noticed. People have to know what's on the agenda, and the minutes have to be available to everyone, and so that we have no secrecy in our public meetings. This includes city councils, boards of supervisors, and every other public type of meeting like school boards and whatnot. Controversy came up because of the money involved. When people request records from these meetings, the cities have to go through some effort to pull the records up and make those records available. And so who pays? Well, up till this point, the state has been paying. And this involves tens of millions of dollars. Well, because of the recession and the terrific debt that we've had over the last decade, there were times when the state had to stop making these payments, and many cities responded by threatening to stop complying with an information request. So what this proposition does is to shift the burden of the payments over a wide area, meaning all the cities and so forth, and then they would have to be required to provide the information under the Brown Act. And so it keeps our meetings open, it keeps our meetings available to everyone, and all the information in those meetings available to everyone, and spreads the cost out over a wide area. It's supported by the Democratic Party and news media and many other groups all across the state. So that's it. Okay. Thank you all very much.
Thanks, John. I think I forgot to mention that relating to our candidates, when they are speaking or when they present themselves, the program will just flow from one candidate to another. And this is not, and I emphasize to the candidate, this is not a debate forum. We're finished with debates. We're ready for voting now. We only have a few more days to get to the polls to vote. Many of these candidates have been, I have to emphasize, the reason why they're sitting here is because they've been, number one, vetted by the Democratic Party. Number two, they have been endorsed by the Democratic Party. And now it is time for us to do our jobs in getting to the polls to vote or even cast those ballots at the absentee ballots. So your opportunity to finally talk with these candidates will be during the social meet and greet period. So we will not entertain any questions of the candidates from the floor, and they will not be engaged in debates, okay? All right, so that's the procedure we're going to use, and I'm sorry I forgot to tell anyone that. What we're going to do first is start, I think instead of starting to my right, like everybody usually starts, since John came from our right this time, we're going to start from our left. And would the lady like to start first, or would Cliff like to start? Ladies first. Ladies first.
All right, you got
Okay.
it. Very good.
All right.
Good evening, fellow Democrats. How's everybody doing tonight? All right. We are 5 days out until Election Day, so I am very excited to be here. My name is Connie Leyva. I am running for Senate in Senate District 20. That encompasses the cities of Pomona, Ontario, Chino, Montclair, Rialto, Fontana, Colton, Bloomington, Grand Terrace, and a little piece of San Bernardino. I'm getting better at saying that. I am the president of UFCW Local 1428. We represent grocery workers in Southern California. I am the first woman president of Local 1428. I've been president for 12 years. I'm also the president of the California Labor Federation, and I've been the president of the California Labor Federation for 10 years, and I am the first woman also to hold that position. I could not be more honored to have the endorsement of the California Democratic Party. For many, many years, I have worked helping get folks elected into public office. This is my first time running for office, and I know how important and sometimes how hard it can be to get that endorsement, so I'm very, very grateful for it. Thank you very, very much. I've lived in this district my entire life. I've lived a little while in Pomona, and then my family moved to Chino. When my husband and I got married in 1988, we bought our first house out in Colton, and then we moved back to Chino 16 years ago because it was closer to my job at the time as our union rep. I was out by the 605 freeway. So I've been here my whole life. My husband's been here his whole life. We've raised our children here. We own a small business in Ontario. We've owned our own business for the last 7 years. So, why do I want to run for Senate? I have a wonderful job. I love what I do representing workers, but I want to do more. I want to go to the Capitol, and I want to take the voice of workers to the Capitol. I think we have many very, very good elected officials who care about workers, but I think I have a different perspective. I represent workers every day. I see the struggles that workers have every day, even though my members, who just today, right down the street at the local, voted to ratify a new contract, yay, which protects their pension, protects their health care, and they even got a little raise. So I love doing that. But yes, thank you. We are very excited for them, but I want to go to the Capitol because a lot of our elected officials have never negotiated a pension. I've been doing that for 12 years. We hear people talk about pension reform. When people talk about pension reform, they're not usually talking about the people who are abusing the system. They're usually talking about people like my mom, who was a member of CSEA, an instructional aide for 35 years in the Chino School District, who is now retired and receives a pension of $1,900 a month. That is not being overpaid. That is not a bloated pension. But when you hear pension reform, that's usually what people are talking about. And when people talk about our state employees or government employees and their bloated pension, the average state employee retires with $15,000 as their pension. So if we're going to reform pension, let's start with the people who are abusing the system. Let's make sure we take care of the average working folks. People talk a lot about, oh, I'm done? Wow, that went by really fast. Okay, thank you very much. I also want to work on education, veterans, and what I would say what sets me apart from the others in this race is that I do have leadership qualities and skills. I want to take that to the Capitol, and I want to work on your behalf. Thank you very much.
I want to indulge in your patience right now because I think it is appropriate for me to say this, permit me to say this. There's a very distinguished person here today And I think we owe her quite a bit, simply because she has reached the level of national, or she did reach the level of national attention under President Obama's administration. And she served loyally under President Obama as our former Secretary of Labor. And if the other candidates permit me to do so, I would just like to give her a special stand-up round of applause for her.
I'm very pleased and honored to be here. I know we have a lot of candidates. There's a lot of work to do. I'm excited to be here tonight with you, but I'm more excited about the fact that you're here, that you represent the Inland Empire, Pomona, and LA County. And yes, I'm back home. I've been home now for about 1.5 years. And you know what? Thank God. Because there's a lot of work to do here. In spite of what's happening in Washington, D.C., the real work is at the county level. And it's getting our base out 5 days. That's all we have for our folks to come out to vote. And right now, your president, my president, and all our key elected officials that are out there on the ballot who are supported by the party need your help. Because right now, even in the county of LA, they're predicting only 9% turnout. 9%! I've never heard of such a thing. What that tells me is we better get fired up. Just like my boss used to say, get fired up. Let's make sure we get folks out there to vote. And if you haven't voted by mail, if you can't turn in your ballot, and make sure if there's a contested provisional ballot, that you get some help. There's information available. There are going to be people, I believe, out there from the Democratic Party that are available to help you. I've seen what happens in Democratic races where even our own people have their voices suppressed. We can't afford that. I'm running for County Board of Supervisors because this is the best place to be. I started out at the local level at the Rio Hondo Community College Board. A lifelong Democrat, born and raised and supported by the Democratic clubs. Very honored to be associated with the Helen Doherty Club out in the San Gabriel Valley and out here in the Inland Empire, but more importantly, always being a staunch Democrat. I was raised by immigrant family members. My mom and dad came here. My dad was a shop steward for the Teamsters. My mother worked for 20 years. Mattel's Toys, on her feet, working hard to put food on the table, to have that roof over, to make sure that we had health care. And 7 children. I was the first of 3 to go to first of the top 3 of 7 to go to college. And it wasn't by accident. It was because somebody out there gave me a chance and said, you could do something, you could be somebody. While I had other people telling me, and folks where I grew up, that your kind can't go to college. Your kind can't think about being somewhere. I said no. In my heart, I knew I could contribute in one way. And I've always felt that. And I know that working alongside with our party and with people like you, the progressives and true Democrats, that we can make a difference. We owe it to our future generations. We owe it to the people whose shoulders we stand on. Civil rights leaders, Cesar Chavez, Martin Luther King, all these folks that have given so much. All these people that have given in the labor movement, people that have been out there on picket lines, people that we don't always talk about or read about in our history books. We have to be reminded why we have a Democratic Party. It is a party that encompasses everybody, regardless of what zip code, regardless of what color, regardless of what accent you have. And if you're male or female or LGBT, we take all of you in. And it's because we have those values. That's why people keep coming to this country and wanting to come to California, because we are a progressive party and we are progressive here. And there's so much here that we can share with other parts of the country. That's what I learned when I worked with President Obama, that I could take back what I learned here at the local level and apply it at the national level. And let me tell you, it worked. He won. And I'm proud to have stood by him to help create jobs, and I want to do that. To incentivize people that came from backgrounds like ours, to give back, to understand that we could stand tall and be a voice for every single person in our community, regardless of where you come from. So I ask for your vote, let your friends know, and let's get this party rolling. And as President Obama said, we are not going to turn our backs on our people, not right now when everyone needs us. We are not quitters. We are not quitters. So thank you very much for having me. Again, thank you for inviting me.
Can you see me? I'm kind of short, okay? My generation had it all. Let me say that when we thought of school, we didn't even question the fact that we had art, we had music, we had recess, we had it all. But today, not even half of what we've had do the children have today. Let me say, I am Dr. Rita Ramirez, PhD. I just want you to know that, because the registrar of San Bernardino County told me that I could not be a doctor of education because I'm not working. If that makes any sense, I don't know from where he came from. I've had my degree for over 9 years. I have 4 degrees, the BA, the MA, the EDS, and the PhD. I have 12 years of university education. I'm qualified in 9 areas, 6 credentials, 38 years of experience, and 6 years as a trustee with a GPA of 3.7. I'm a smart woman. And it's time for the big change. 1926 is the first and last woman ever elected. I would be the second if you vote June the 3rd. But why am I running? Because I love education and I love students. Let me say, when you're young, you don't know what the future's going to hold. And they think they're going to be young forever, and we've all thought that. But let me say, when they drop out and find out the suffering that is going to be forever, we need to do something as educators and as parents. I want to do early childhood, pre-K through 4. I want to do an academy where students keep saying, I want to learn how to work. Well, let me say, we're going to put them to work. In the morning, they'll get their high school diploma, and in the afternoon, they're going to study specializations, whatever they want. School of Technology, School of Business, School of Law Enforcement, School of Health. And then when they get the knowledge, we're going to put them out to work as interns. Why? Because what they really want is a car, a girlfriend, and the money to put gas in. We know that. But as teachers, we are going to give them what they need, and therefore they will graduate, not only with a diploma, but with a certificate and with the ability to work. And then they're mine, because then I will offer scholarships. And hopefully they all realize they need more schooling. But that's not enough. Too many have already dropped out because they were young, and now they're parents with children. We need to get them back in school. Educational centers. Let us give them their high school diploma and open the doors to college. But they're not the only ones that need education. We have a lot of people who need to learn English. We need to offer ESL so they can become citizens. Put them right into a high school diploma and put them out there so they can earn a living. I'm here for everyone. This is the time for the big change. The big change is elect a woman. It would be great because of the fact that I've always said, we do the work, we never get the job, nor the promotion, nor the time, or the money. I want it all. I want the whole enchilada.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Clifton Harris, and I'm the candidate for sheriff of San Bernardino County. I grew up in the San Bernardino area since 1963, short stay in the Army, graduated from college with a bachelor's in business, 4 classes away from an MBA. I got a call from a constituent while I was waiting for the program to begin, and it was a gentleman from Big Bear. The gentleman is a retired highway patrol officer, 27 years, and he shared with me that the community is up in arms in Big Bear because of the arrogance, the obnoxious attitude of our law enforcement people in the Big Bear area. So I shared with him my vision and my plan, and I used that to preface you for what I'm about to say, which I shared with him. I have a theme for my campaign. It's called Breaking the Cycle. And breaking the cycle simply means breaking the cycle of the culture of San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department. Some of you may or may not be aware of all of the abuses that take place, but I saw a lot of hands go up from San Bernardino County. And fortunately and hopefully none of you are victims of what I call a very brutal regime, especially in certain ethnic communities, the Latinos and the African Americans. It's very sad what's taking place. So here's what I'd like to do as your new sheriff. I support the establishment of a human rights unit and a civil rights unit. That way we will have an independent body investigating a lot of the abuses that are taking place. And I support the end of racial profiling. For one thing, it's illegal. It's unconstitutional. So why should we continue to act as though it doesn't occur or doesn't exist? You don't hear any other people out there, especially in law enforcement, saying that they would like to do such a thing. I have sat down. My website is harrisforsheriff.com. And I get comments because they say, well, you wrote too much on there. Well, my God, you know, how are people going to know what I stand for if I don't tell them what I stand for? So I've got a lot of information on my website, and this is just a preface of those items on there. I will implement guiding principles for the Sheriff's Department because, believe me, they're out of control, and every officer seems to have the ability to inflict his or her vision for you at the time you're standing in front of them and they're deciding your fate. That's not the way it works in the 21st century democracy, and we are in the 21st century. I have written and will implement values, a set of values that will help identify many problems that we have, and that will also be used as a guiding principle for the officers to follow. There's going to be a lot of training needed, but I will do that because I'm an educator as well. We will announce to the community on an ongoing basis what I envision as a transparent Sheriff's Department, a department where we include the citizens and not shut them out and act as though everything is from the Oval Office. It's not right, because you are taxpayers and you deserve to know what's going on. So when I have a commander's meeting, I want the public there. I want them to see. The only time you won't be there is when we're discussing personnel matters or certain investigations. And with that, I'm going to have my seat. Thank you very much.
Good evening. I just got here, but I was here long enough to notice a pattern in the way people were speaking, so I'm going to assume I'm next. I'm Larry Walker, and I'm the Auditor, Controller, Treasurer, Tax Collector in San Bernardino County, and I'm guessing that there's not the high level of awareness for that position that there are for some others here, but I can tell you as a Board of Supervisors member, one of the things I learned was you can't make good decisions if you don't have good numbers. And that is one of the things that led me to my present position. Before I get any farther about myself, though, I'd like to say thank you to a couple of groups. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to the folks that are here tonight. Getting out the vote is what we're down to now. Most of the money's been collected, all of the money's been spent, and then some. The mail is just about all out, or it's not going to get there in time. The absentee votes are substantially in. We're campaigning a little differently than we did in the old days in terms of when the mail goes out. But what's left is get out the vote. And I want to tell you, well, first I want to thank the other group. I want to thank the San Bernardino County Democratic Central Committee for their endorsement of my campaign. That means a lot to me. This is a nonpartisan office. I've campaigned and I've served the entire community of San Bernardino County to the best of my ability for the last close to 16 years now in this position and in other jobs before that. But I remember the first time I ran for county supervisor back in 1986 and had a number of people making a number of phone calls, had 3 or 4 phones going in my house. That was a lot of phones in a house back then. And I took a break about 6:30 on Tuesday evening, election day. And I was resting for a minute, and a woman that I haven't seen for a long time, Sabrina Schiller, was an activist in particularly environmental circles and others, and she was out assisting me in my campaign, and she said, "Larry, what are you doing?" I said, "I'm taking a break." She said, "Let me tell you a story. When I ran for state senate a few years ago, the polls looked good, everything looked good, and we kind of eased off a little bit in the last week of the campaign, and I lost that race by less than 1 vote per precinct." She said, "Get back to work." And I worked until 8 o'clock that night, and then we took some time off. Then I picked up all my campaign signs in the next couple of hours, and then we had a party. But that's what's important right now, and I just want to thank everyone that's here tonight for this expression of your understanding and your willingness and your desire to do everything possible until 8 o'clock next Tuesday evening to make it possible for the people that have been endorsed by the various folks that are involved here tonight to actually be successful in this campaign. The campaign's just the beginning. You need to continue to support them so that they can be successful in office, because that's what we're really all about here is service. This campaign business is just how we get to the place where we have the opportunity to serve. So thank you to the folks that have endorsed me. Thank you to you folks for being here tonight. And let me just tell you about the Auditor, Controller, Treasurer, Tax Collector's Office. We hear a lot of politicians talking about how Democrats are tax and spend folks and don't understand numbers and don't understand the importance of a balanced budget. I would defy you to go back over the last few decades in this country and figure out which presidents ran a balanced budget and which presidents didn't run a balanced budget and by how much, and figure out who the spending party is. But one of the things I'm conscious of just about every day when I go to work is the fact that financial fiscal responsibility is not the province of any one party. If it is, I believe it's the party I'm a member of. And my obligation and my commitment is to continue to demonstrate that fact every day. I've balanced my budget every year that I've been a department head in San Bernardino County. I've watched the folks who come in every year for a little more money at the end of the year, and that's just a question of how you operate. But I do want to tell you, I've seen politicians criticized for talking about management style. I remember a particular presidential candidate who was criticized for talking about management instead of talking about the issues. But I can tell you in San Bernardino County, an important issue is how we run the organization. Because I can tell you right now, as the person who's responsible for auditing and for trying to make sure people stay on the right track, if you want to have corruption in government today, then go back 10 years and just allow sloppy management, and just allow a lack of controls, and just allow people to not operate the organization as well as it ought to be operated and not have anything negative happen. That's my job, is to be involved in trying to identify that and catch it. And it's not all catchable, as folks have demonstrated in San Bernardino County. Actually, we should go back and check out all those miscreants and see what their party registration was as well. I do again I just want to close by saying thank you for being here tonight. Please give it everything you've got. I hope we can all give it everything we've got for the next 5 days, and then I hope we'll have an opportunity to give it everything we've got for the next 4 years. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Zephyr. And before I do what I'm supposed to do, before I follow the rules, because I was one of those kids, you know, in your classrooms, who didn't always follow the rules, and Judy's such a bright girl, and she does so well in class, but she talks too much. This talking, though, is very important. I want us all to give a round of applause to the chair and the brains behind the outfit, Zephyr Tate-Mann. Heard some marvelous speakers, and we have more. I've had pleasure of hearing some of them before. And Hilda forgot to tell you, and many of you already have this, but Hilda Solis is walking this Sunday from her headquarters. It's on this flyer. You can see me if you don't have one. It's on Mission. And her dear friend, our dear friend, Dolores Huerta, is going to be there, be with her. So Sunday at noon, come, join us, and walk with Hilda. Walk and make sure that Pomona supports Hilda Solis for District 1. And then if you know anybody who lives on the west side of LA, get them to vote for Sheila Kuehl over there. Can you imagine how lucky LA is going to be to have such two powerful women? I can hardly wait. Of course, our San Bernardino is going to do just fine. Out in our audience, we are favored with the city councilman from Claremont, Mr. Sam Pedrosa. Is he still with us? Oh, he just walked out, but I want you to know he's up for a re-election in March of 15. Also, you've met my dear friend Sam Crow, but the Ontario Montclair School Board has its election in the fall. And so he'll be pulling papers and he'll be running again in Ontario. And right here in front of us, we have Deborah Martin, who is a city councilwoman in our host city of Pomona, District 6. Deborah Martin.
Say one thing. On behalf of the city of Pomona, I want to thank Judy, Zephyr, and all the panel and the guests tonight, because you know what, this is what it's all about, getting to know our candidates, and it's a lot of hard work behind the scenes. As a Democratic Central Committee member, I know that the two of them work really hard, and I really appreciate everything, and I wish all of you good luck, and welcome to District 6. Thank you so much.
And come November, our buddy on our committee, Mr. Lou Alfonso, will be a candidate for the City Council of Chino Hills. Give us a wave. We now have in our midst a party official. You met the chair of San Bernardino County, but in the party we have officers as well. And so we're very fortunate to have the regional director of this area, Diane Boudreau. She also is a founding member of Chino Valley Democrats, belongs to West End and to Helen Doherty Club. And we love Diane, and thank you so much for being here. And what we didn't learn about John Smith is before we changed hats and numbers for our assembly districts, he wore the hat of a regional director, and he was our regional director in this area, and we were then Region 16. So thank you, John. And thank you all for being here supporting this event. And have I missed anyone who is a local city, county official that I should be introducing? Well, I thank you very much, and let's get all of these wonderful Democrats elected. Thank you very much, Deborah Martin, and also Judy Jacobs. Judy is always on time, on point, very efficient, and just extreme. It's an extreme pleasure to work with her all the time, anytime, whenever she calls, I'm there. It's like Roscoe Pelham, I'm there. Thanks, Deborah, for attending also. This is Deborah's council district here also. If most of you who live in Pomona, if you don't know who your council person is and you live in this area, that's your council person. I wasn't planning to get up so many times, but because I'm altering the program and trying to somewhat mastermind this event, we will now hear from the remaining candidates. And I would just like to say one thing, because this is sort of my pet thing on the Los Angeles County Democratic Party. The judicial candidates are very, very important. Very important. I don't think people realize how important they are. And this is not to say that the other candidates are not important. We know how important you guys are, and you're in the spotlight a lot. But judges are very important. And I sit on the Judiciary Committee, Interviewing Committee for the Los Angeles County Party. We vet these people. They can tell you. We vet them. very carefully, and we make recommendations as to the persons we think are very qualified to sit on that bench, not only because of their training, their education, their background, their experience, but judicial temperament also. If you, your family member, friends have a problem, and you have to appear before a person in court, you want the best. You want the best person sitting on that bench who could be fair-minded. And I know that if you look around the country, throughout the United States, we can definitely identify some unscrupulous kind of decisions that have been made on the court. Okay? And even with the Supreme Court, United States Supreme Court, as Democrats, when we look at citizens, that citizens case, et cetera, we are having some problems as a result of that. So judiciary candidates are extremely important. They might sit on the municipal court and the Superior Court, but who knows? They might one day get to be a Supreme Court justice also. I always say, these candidates hold life and death in their decisions many times. They're only candidates. And guess what we do? We don't know who they are. We don't often try to find out. And we say, oh, I don't know any of these people, I'll just skip over their names. Don't do it. Cast your ballot for the best candidates. These candidates have been vetted and they've been endorsed. So I want to start off with our judicial candidates.
Good evening. Everyone take a deep breath. I know you've been sitting there about 55 minutes. My name is Pam Matsumoto, and I am running for judicial candidate seat number 22. I want to point out over there on the table, you'll find a brochure here. And what we've done is, we have 5 candidates on the LA County judicial races. There are 5 of us that have already been doing the judicial work. And we've gotten together, pooled our money, very democratic, trying to save the trees, save our money, and we've actually put together our own brochure. Please take a look at it. It has all of us already on there. There's myself, Pam Matsumoto, that's me over there. Over here we have Jacqueline Lewis, right here in the cream at the far end, we have Deborah Loznick. All 3 of us have been endorsed by the LA County Democratic Party. We've also been vetted by the bar, and this is where I get to brag a little bit. It's kind of hard to brag about myself, so I'm going to brag about Jackie. Jackie has been rated exceptionally well qualified by the LA County Bar. I want to emphasize that because it is extremely rare to get that bar rating. That means that the entire bar thinks that she will do an exceptional job. We are so honored for Jackie. Myself and Deborah, we've been rated well qualified. That's a very, very high rating. In fact, out of the 27 candidates, only 6 have received that rating. And Deborah and I did get it. Out here in the audience, we have Steve Clayton, and he has also been on the bench. He's also on the brochure. Steve has been rated well qualified as well. Please vote for him. He's also a lifelong Democrat. Now, not only have all 5 of us done the judicial work, not all 5 of us have been endorsed by the Democratic Party, we've also been vetted by the bar. So now let's talk a little bit about myself. I myself have sat on the bench for almost 7 years. I was an LA County referee, and unfortunately, as you've all heard, the court had budget issues, and they shut down courtrooms. I was actually one of the 22 bench officers who was laid off last year. My courtroom was shut down, I was laid off. I was laid off not because of performance or merit, I was laid off because I was assigned to a juvenile courtroom. They shut down the juvenile courtrooms and the courthouses, and the staff and the bench officers got laid off. I actually sat here in Pomona. I sat in Pomona for over 2 years over on the first floor in the courthouse, where I dealt with juvenile delinquency at the misdemeanor level. Now, before I was on the bench, I was a deputy public defender here in Los Angeles County for many years. In fact, my husband is also a deputy public defender, and that's where we met. We met in jail. Anyway, after I was a public defender, I was a state prosecutor, I did Medi-Cal fraud, and then at that point I got appointed by the presiding judge to be a referee. So I have the unusual experience of actually sitting on both sides of the aisle, as a defense attorney, a prosecutor, and also on the bench. So I ask you for your vote on June 3rd, and as I said, my name is Pam Matsumoto, and here's my little secret. I'm the first name on the ballot. So I appreciate you very much. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Jacqueline Lewis, and I am running for office number 61, LA Superior Court. If you can tell, we've been doing this for a while. Usually when we go places, they give us 1 minute to speak. So what we've learned to do is it's like, finish this sentence. So Pam does some, I do some, Deb does some, Steve does some, Emma does some. So I'll pick up a little bit on where Pam left off, and that is to tell people what commissioners and referees do, because most people, when they hear those words, think of people in striped shirts with whistles. That's not what we do. Referees are hired by the presiding judge of the juvenile court to do juvenile work. Child abuse and neglect, delinquency matters, which are the criminal matters, misdemeanors, traffic, all of the juvenile. Those are referees. Commissioners are elected by the judges of the LA Superior Court. Again, we go through another vetting process. Applications, interviews, background checks, they talk to everybody. And then the judges vote for commissioners. Commissioners can sit in more areas of law besides juvenile, but all of us have pretty much the powers of a judge. The only thing we can't do is hold you in contempt. We have to refer that to a judge. But otherwise, we basically do the exact same thing. I tell a story that Ginger Rogers used to say about Fred Astaire. She had to do everything he did, except backwards and in high heels. That's sort of how I see commissioners and referees to our judges. So that's what we do. The other thing that binds us together, again, is that we've all been doing juvenile work. And the juvenile bench, because of the confidentiality of it to a certain extent, gets no attention and frankly not a whole lot of respect, which is why we're all running. We have all been dealing with what I still consider the hardest work on the court, which is dealing with abused and neglected kids and dealing with our families, giving them assistance, trying to keep families together, trying to make new families when we can't keep families together. This work is exhausting. It is 16-hour-a-day type of work. It is reading at lunch, reading at nights, deep down in your soul type of stuff you bring home and have to live with. And we do that every day, and we love it, and we are dedicated to it. And so I wanted to be able to tell you a little bit about what we did and do. For me, I think Pam actually already tooted all my horns, so I appreciate that very much. Again, I've been doing juvenile for a really long time. It's the time to make that next step. A lot of us want to be moved to the next step because respect comes with that, money comes with that, all of those things. Having a leadership role comes with that. Vote's going to be low. Please come out and vote. Thank you very much. My name is Jacqueline Lewis, Office 61.
Hi, I'm Greg Fishel, and I'm not running for judge. And what Zephyr set aside about us being judicial candidates over there. However, I am actually familiar with a couple of the judicial candidates to my right here because I am a 26-year social worker with the Los Angeles County Department of Children and Family Services. And I've had cases in actually not only in Commissioner Lewis and Commissioner Lossick's courtroom, but I had a case a couple of weeks ago in Commissioner Clay's courtroom, and I hope you won't hold that against me. I remember being roundly criticized, chewed out big time by then referee Lewis some years ago on a case. So, and you want to talk about hard work and exhausting work, and that's what social work is as well. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. Again, I'm Greg Fritchell. I'm running for the 55th District, Assembly District, and that's where the three counties locally come together, LA County, San Bernardino County, and Orange County. The communities that it includes are in Los Angeles County, most of Rowland Heights, a small sliver of West Covina, Walnut, Diamond Bar, over in San Bernardino County, the city of Chino Hills, and then in Orange County, 4 cities, La Habra, Brea, Placentia, and Yorba Linda. And so it's a pretty spread out district, it's a diverse district. You know, the 3 areas are divided by hills and very different cultures and political atmosphere, political atmosphere in 3 areas. And I will say when I ran 2 years ago, I actually beat the incumbent in the LA County part of my district, which I think was a major accomplishment considering I'm a grassroots candidate and I was outraised by him 100 to 1. But imagine how things could have turned out if I'd actually been able to get the kind of financial backing that he got. I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. Grown up in this area, I was born in Covina, grew up in West Covina and Covina. Lived briefly outside the area when I bought my first home on Paris, moved back to the area, lived in Pomona for 6 years before moving to where I currently live in Walnut, where I've lived for the past 15 and a half years. As I said, I'm a 26-year child welfare social worker with the Los Angeles County Department of Children and Family Services, and I'm a 23-year labor activist, and I've been fighting for, I've been heavily involved in the fight to get social worker caseloads down to not a comfortable level, not an easy level, but a doable level, okay? You know, I started out in this department carrying a caseload of over 100 children. Now I'm down to about 30, but that's still, it's still twice as high as what it needs to be, just for me to be able to comply with what state law requires. Never mind actually doing quality, best practice social work. So that's one of the things that got me wanting to be involved politically, because it's an oversimplification to say that we have a current budget surplus. I mean, technically we do, but we also have a deficit in services, and my department and this program, child welfare, is one of the biggest examples. As I said, you know, when we have half as many social workers statewide as we need, that's a problem. You know, who's looking out for the children of California? So I want to address that, but I want to address a lot of other things too, and I want to kind of summarize where I stand on California issues with basically three things. We've rebuilt a strong economy in California. If we want to keep it that way, though, there's three things we've got to do. One, we have to start reinvesting in the middle class, taking the tax relief and the financial support away from big corporations and the wealthy and focus it back on the middle class. That's the backbone of the economy. They contribute almost all of the money they earn back into the economy. They don't just put it away and save it like many wealthy people do and corporations do. And we have to change our tax system to reflect that support so that we can maintain that. The second thing is that we have to recognize that our needs and our realities change, okay? And that means we need to be looking at redeveloping, retraining people in new skills and redeveloping technology, moving into the 21st century. We need to develop green energy. We need to move towards solar and wind, away from coal and oil. And the last thing is, we need to recognize that in order to connect people with jobs, one of the things we have to do is we have to expand the radius of commutability. What I mean by that is we have to be able to connect people in low-density areas with jobs in high-density areas, and that relies heavily on high-speed transit. And so no matter what Republicans say about how it's a boondoggle, I think it's a necessary investment in our future. We need to reinvest in California's infrastructure. And in this area, traffic is a big issue, so we need to invest in that as well. I have a plan for helping solve the traffic problems on the 60 freeway. Don't have time to get into it here, but anybody who wants to know about it is welcome to come and talk to me. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for coming. My name is Deborah Losnick. I'm running for Los Angeles County Judge, seat 54. My colleagues have pretty much covered most of what I could say, other than I'm going to add that in the juvenile court, it takes a special person to do this job, and you have to give of yourself, you have to give of your heart, and the best part is we get to make a difference in the lives of children and family in Los Angeles County every single day. As to myself, I have raised 2 kids, I have 2 dogs, 4 cats. I've sat on the bench for 23 years, primarily in the juvenile court where I heard and abuse children's cases. I have been endorsed by numerous people. My website's probably the best place to look, but because it was raised earlier, I am also endorsed by Dolores Huerta, and I will likely be at the walk on Sunday. And I thank you so much for being here, and I'm not going to speak too long because I'm the last speaker, and you're probably all ready for the social hour, so thank you so much for having all of us. And thank you for...
So far, let's give everyone a round of applause. There are some things that I think that need to be said pertaining to the judicial candidates that they have probably forgotten to explain to voters. And that is, number one, they are not running against each other. They're running for a particular office, a particular seat, a particular slot, and you will see that on their ballots. So they're not running against each other, and they have been, as I said before, vetted and endorsed. There are three other people in the audience that I would like to introduce to you this evening. They took the time out to come and be with us. And that is the representative, when I call your name, please stand. That is the representative from the Los Angeles County Tax Assessor's Office. If you notice his name is Jeff Crane. He is on the ballot. He's endorsed also by the Los Angeles County Party. I had given them the information that only candidates will be seated. And if the other candidates wanted to send representatives, they are welcome to do so. And we will place their literature on the table, and they are welcome to talk with you during the social meet and greet hour. And he has some literature for you to share with you. So please get to know him also. We want to give him that opportunity to get to know you and share that information with you. So raise your hand. Another candidate who drove all the way from Torrance, California to get here to socialize with you and give her information to you. And did she leave? I don't see her. Still here. And that's Carol Tahara. Maybe she had to leave and go back. But she's running for seat number 117 as a judicial candidate. And she was endorsed by the Torrance Democratic Club, but I don't think she had well, I know she didn't have the endorsement of the Los Angeles County, but she did have the endorsement of the Torrance Democratic Club, so you might want to consider her. Another candidate that I must say, and he probably doesn't know this, but I supported him at the Los Angeles County Democratic Party. Although he did not get the endorsement, it was very, very tight there, and it was just, I don't know, somewhat strange. I thought he was going to get the endorsement, but he definitely has my support. And would you please stand, judicial candidate for office number 113, Steve Clay. And you must know that he must be an outstanding person because Pamela took half of her speech and gave it for him. So that really means something also. So during the social hour, please get to know him, and he will share his literature with you. Many of the incumbent legislators, both state and congressional, would like to express their regrets for not being here. But as incumbents, their job is not over until Friday. So we admire them for not being here. We regret that they're not here, but we admire them for staying at the Capitol in Sacramento and in Washington, D.C. and doing the job that we hired them to do. We know that they want to be re-elected, and so we ask you to also consider voting for them, and we will give you that list. But otherwise, they would be here. I know my assemblyman would have been here, and that's Chris Holden, if it had not been for his duties in Sacramento, because he's the majority whip. But they have expressed their regrets for not being here also. One other person is probably on his way, and that is the mayor of Redlands, and that is Mayor Pete Aguilar. And he's on his way, and we knew he was going to be late, and we had him last on the program, but he has not arrived yet. So when he gets here, we will pause. You would take your last bite of the cookie and punch or whatever and listen to him. Will you commit to doing that for me? Okay, because we want to hear it. Hello, may I have your attention?
How to Pete?
He's worth too. He's worth waiting for. This is what we've been waiting for. I apologize if half of the people have left, but we're so happy that you could come and join us, and we do want to hear what you have to say to us, and also we do want to let him know that there are votes here for him, and we have people who will go out and tell their neighbors in San Bernardino County. I present to you the mayor of Redlands, Mr. Pete Aguilar.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you sticking around. Thanks so much. Uh-oh, I guess there's my 1 minute.
She waved me off.
I want to find out who those voters in the 31st district are first, and I'll talk directly to them. There's Lily. I know we're counting on that vote. Thank you so much. I appreciate everything that you're doing to help turn out voters. We are 5 days away. I see a lot of friends here in the audience. We're 5 days away from taking steps to turn this seat from red to blue. This is a key pickup opportunity in the nation. Is California's 31st district. Just on the other side of that county line, this is our opportunity to pick this seat up. We've been working hard. I've been a candidate for 14 months. We've been talking about issues that I know you care about, which is growing the middle class, making sure that there's jobs for our residents, making sure that we protect Social Security and Medicare, doing all of the things that we know, making investments in infrastructure and education. That's what residents of the 31st District want, and that's what we have promised to deliver. So thank you so much for being here, for everything that you're doing. We plan ourselves, our campaign in the 31st, we're going to knock on thousands of doors this weekend. We have been knocking on over 1,000 doors every day for the past few weeks, and we're making thousands of phone calls as well. So we are doing our part to reach voters, to talk to them, to find out what their interests are, and to let them know the importance of voting in this district this time around. 5 short days we'll be there, and we'll take the first steps to picking up this seat in Congress. We need 17 seats in the House of Representatives in order to change that gavel from Republican control to Democratic control. And that starts here. That starts here in our communities. It starts with this seat, and it starts with you working hard, helping us to turn out voters and to make sure. Now, everybody's going to say this is a low turnout election, that Democrats don't show and that we're not going to show up. We need to prove them wrong. We need to show up. We need to call our friends and neighbors, send emails, let everybody know that we have some great people on the ballot. There's a lot of folks here that are on the ballot. I see Larry Walker as well. So a lot of folks that have your confidence and have your trust, and we need you. You know, this is, the candidates, we've done our share of work and walking and raising funds to communicate. This is where we really need that effort. We need you to help give us that special bump by making some phone calls, by talking to your friends and neighbors. That's what we can use right now. And if you do that, if you work with us, and if you help turn out the vote and talk to everybody we can make change. We can help our communities, we can support Democrats in this region, and we can do our part to send a message nationally that the middle class can thrive in this community, and we can take back this seat in Congress. So thank you so much. I'm proud to have the support of the California Democratic Party and a lot of Democratic candidates. And just get out and vote. Support the folks that are here, that have helped you, and we can do this. We can get this done. So thank you so much for sticking out, for waiting for me, and staying firm with us. I appreciate it. Have a good evening.